Remember the Tyrants made a movie in it was made in the 2000s.
Yeah, but it was based in like 1971.
Based in the 1970s.
Yeah.
And today's 2020.
Mm-hmm.
You could, and it's crazy, and it shouldn't be the way it is in this world, but it is because of so many different factors. But it's crazy that you could be watching that movie, you could switch that movie off and just turn the news on, and the exact same thing is happening tenfold around the world on the news.
You see, there's one scene, we're kind of skipping a little bit with the movie, but when Wood Harris, like, who's friends with the captain, right? He was waiting for the captain at the captain was at his place, and Wood Harris is just waiting for him, just waiting on the street, just waiting for his friend. They're about to play ball, and a cop car comes past. And you just see Wood Harris just all nervous and looking at him, and he just like head down, like, hello officer, hello sir, and he would just, because they've been through this, and like that relates to now, like that's 40 years apart, but that's
50
exactly, that's still relevant to today.
Relevant. And like, it's been the same way in America. Yeah, it's funny because not funny, but it's like we live in Australia. I personally, as a Filipino, haven't experienced that type of racism, but Australia has its own background of racism at the same time. But yeah, what you were saying is that they're so used to it. Even today, they talk about it on social media, and they talk about like how, black kids will be on the streets and they're just scared. They're not scared, but they just know that police will harass them just because they're black.
Yeah.
And that's still happening today. And it's just a movie 50 years ago, so much should have changed by then.
Mm. When you say like maybe not scared, I'm 100% sure there are some kids that are scared of, like, because they know even just that store clerk scene, like just going to a store and you could be shot just by leaving the store. Yeah. Just being eyed by the police there.
Yeah.
It's
there was so many. I understand why. Well, if you really look into it a bit more, it's just crazy that. What my point was, there's so many factors as to why it's still happening today, and it's engulfed in the
history of America, pretty much.
Yeah, you know what? In the history, plus there won't be change until the president is like the worst when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like racism, he's the worst. So, and bigotry and ignorance. So of course it's not going to change. How are you going to change if the top is so bad?
Yeah, like it definitely does start from the top. Don't get me wrong. Like that police system has kind of always been ingrained like that. Not every single police officer is like that. I'm not saying every single police. I think it's the worst part about it is, especially with George Foreman, like after the death,
George Floyd.
George Floyd. I think the worst part about it was like, as how big as it was, it got worse from the police side. Like when the protests started happening, even people just peacefully protesting, like
they were getting pumped.
Yeah, they were getting pushed over just by holding a sign up and eyeing a cop,
getting shot by rubber bullets.
Exactly,
and it was like, I remember that New York police officer came out, and he not police officer,
the press conference in the press. The press
like, how are you treating us like we're the villain, we're the thugs
and animals?
The animals, but like. There's evidence of you guys still doing that shit.
That's how they're treating the like black people though.
Yeah,
that's
been doing it for how long? No one. You can't blame them for the way they've reacted. It's just a whole. It's not just George Floyd. That's the thing. There's been so many the past few years, and it's still ongoing. That they've just gone like, fuck it. It's a revolt. Like, we're fucking tired of this shit. And what's good? People like you and I, and people, white people, and you can see it's a younger generation that have really supported their black friends and family, because you need other people to join in. You can't be silent with these things, because.
How will people learn?
Yeah, and you need everyone, because if a black friend of yours is getting vilified and discriminated against I'm gonna stand for that. Like I'm going to ride for you always. Like because that could happen to me too.
And one of the things I did, like once when I heard about the George Floyd thing, one of the things I did, I pretty much like, and like don't get me wrong, I don't have that many black friends, like especially in America. I probably only have a handful. Yeah. First thing I did was just message them and just, hey, I hope you and your family is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Like one of my close mates who he lived here for like a year, Roderick. He lives in Texas, and that's like that's all where it was happening. Yeah. And like he's like no, it's like thanks for the shout, like look out. But I'll be upfront with you, man. This is a regular thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love that. I love like Australia. I love worldwide. Everyone's looking out for us, and that's a fucking good look for us. But when you're actually in America, it's like a regular thing if you're a black person.
Oh yeah, of course. That's why there needs to be change within the system, and for that change to happen, things like this need to happen because. With all these protests, I'm sure they're losing a whole bunch of money in the economy in America. And that's the only way you can really get people to change in America is if you attack their money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, so on the flip side with where people are saying, oh, this is not the way to protest and everything. Like,
you don't.
Yeah, you like, this is the only way you're looking at it now. You're paying attention to this now because you're paying attention to this now because of these protests and some of the riots too.
And I think,
don't get me wrong, there's levels of it, but like, if they've had enough, the glass is full now. There's what else? Where there's nowhere to go now.
It's I think we're like 2 weeks in, and it's still happening in cities around America.
Yeah, that's scary, man. But people look